Hello, this is Derek Henry, founder of Healing the Body and creator of the Thrive Online Health Program. And today I want to talk about a very important subject that's going to determine how quickly that you become well or how you maintain your health, and that is around toxins. Now, we know that there is an abundance of toxins out there, and I don't want to scare anybody, but we have to pull our head out of the sand and realize that we live in a very toxic society. And there's certain things that we're not going to be able to control, but there certainly is a large amount of things that we can control, and we need to focus on the things we can control so that we can make sure that we at least have the momentum in our favor in terms of making sure that incoming toxins aren't polluting us at an unprecedented rate, which they are these days. But with more knowledge like I'm going to provide you now, you'll understand where they're coming from and how you can block them from ever coming into your body in the first place, so that when you do cleansing and detoxifying, that you keep them out and you keep the incoming load down low. And when you remove them, then you can make sure that your toxic load, your toxic burden stays low. And that's what's really important. So there's so many different toxins we can talk about. There's biological toxins, for example, which are, we're talking about parasites, fungus, viruses, bacteria, and of course, those can appear in our environment, right, in our air. That's one major way that we can see them. A lot of them you can see through, or you could get through, improperly prepared food, whether it's in a restaurant, in your neighborhood, or even whether it's at home, or whether you're on vacation. Those are lots of different ways that you can ingest and have to deal with parasites and bacteria, for example. So obviously eating a very antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal diet helps you make sure that anything that does come into your system, that you make sure that you clear it out as quickly as possible. If you don't eat those kinds of foods on a regular basis and you eat out a lot, you're just opening yourself up. And it's been shown that up to 80% of people or higher are going to deal with a parasite at one point in their lives. So you want to make sure that you have the infrastructure in your body to make sure that your body eliminates those things as quickly as they come in. There's some other more obnoxious toxins that your body isn't meant to deal with at all, and that isn't really set up to deal with them, and you have to do a little bit more effort with. And one of those examples is heavy metals. We deal with heavy metals in so many different ways, through our food, through the different chemicals that are applied to them that have heavy metals in them, through, dental work, for example. Anybody who's had mercury fillings or metal fillings, there's heavy metals in there, and that goes into delicate tissues of your mouth. So it's not just a one-time thing where you deal with that toxicity in the beginning. As you continue to eat food, as you go through life, you continue to secrete a little bit of that metals into your system, and these metals have zero use inside the body. In fact, they're very chaotic. They're going to decrease your resonance with lots of different types of foods. They're going to repel good bacteria, probiotics. There's just lots of different problems they're going to cause. So you want to make sure that you limit the amount of incoming heavy metals. So a big way to avoid that is, again, if you're getting dental work done in terms of fillings, always opt out for anything outside of the metal fillings. Anything else will be much better than dealing with that. So that's a big factor that you need to deal with. There's also things like our personal care products, which a lot of us don't consider. And unfortunately, typically women use more personal care products than men, and so they take on a bigger burden, and because they're using different lotions, you're using makeup, all these different kinds of things, and a lot of them have are lead based. They have a lot of different heavy metals in them, and your skin is a living thing, and it's going to absorb what you put onto it. So you got to be very careful with that, and deodorant is a big one, for example. And a lot of people have been guilty with this over the years, where we use those deodorants that contain aluminum, the more conventional deodorants, and putting that on your skin, on your armpit every day. I mean, this is a lot of reasons why different conditions can pop up, where you get inflamed or enlarged lymph nodes, or sometimes for women there could be initiation of breast cancer there. Just think about all the location of this and what you're clogging up and the heavy metals you're putting in there. This can cause a lot of issues. So you really should look for a cleaner deodorant if you want to avoid those kinds of incoming toxins. There's lots of different natural deodorants out there now. There's lots of natural makeups and lotions. I mean, there's tons of different things out there now that you can get. So I really encourage you to start swapping out your personal care products. Also have a lot of cleaning products that we use over the years that are really hard on the liver, and there's of course now, again, there's lots of different cleaning products that we could use that are more natural. So you should start to switch those out as well. We don't think about our water near enough. If you're drinking water from the tap, there's a guarantee that you're drinking different types of chemicals, like chlorine. Worst case scenario, fluoride. Fluoride's been removed from some water systems, but still largely in most of them. And fluoride is one of the most neurologically damaging molecules you could put inside your body. And when you drink it through water, it's very easily absorbed. So it can cause a lot of different issues, including calcifying of the pineal gland. So these aren't things that we want to do. So you want to make sure you get a good filtration system that strips out any of those other chemicals and fluoride. So you want to make sure that it's doing that job. If you have fluoride, if you don't know, this is where you go to your local municipal website, the water, or call them and find out if they add these things to the water, so you know what kind of filter you need to make sure that your water is pure, because hydration is important. We're 70% water, and you don't want to make sure that you have any contaminants. Your best water by far is spring water, as long as you can find a good clean source, and not everyone has access to that. But if you go to findaspring.com, you can see maybe if there's a spring close to you. That's the most oxygenating, most live, most well mineralized alkaline water that you could get, period. If you can't do that, then there's other water systems that can do a good job. So another toxin that we don't often talk about either is the invisible toxins that more and more people are starting to understand are out there, and that's EMFs, or electromagnetic frequencies, which are simply, these are non-native frequencies from electronics, from electricity. Our cell phones, our computers, our TVs, our appliances, any plugins, lights, all those things have these frequencies. And there's just always this low grade and could be higher grade chaos that's going on with our cells when we're constantly in the vicinity of these chaotic frequencies. Smart meters is a new insult that's fairly recent. The amount of EMFs that are put off by those could be a significant issue depending on your proximity. We got other things coming like 5G, Wi-Fi. We talk about those things all the time and how those are chaotic. So in a world, when you're living in pretty much any part in the world, now these days, you're usually dealing with some type of electricity or some type of Wi-Fi signals. And so you can't really avoid it, it's omnipresent, but you can neutralize it. So there's different things you can do, including grounding or earthing, which is actually getting outside in the bare ground, the soil, the sand, the dirt, and actually connecting with that, because the frequency or the resonance of the earth is the same as ours. So they resonate, they get along really, really well. Where these other EMFs, these non-native EMFs, these are chaotic frequencies, so they don't resonate with us. So you need to make sure that you get grounded in earth as much as possible. Of course, not always available depending on the time of year and where you live. But fortunately, there is technology these days as well, where you can actually get grounded inside your own home. Because that's virtually impossible, again, unless you're on a concrete slab that's not coated or anything like that actually is on the surface of the earth. Then you can get some grounding, but for most people that's not the case. You're dealing with wood floors, and none of this stuff is grounding you. You actually got to be connected to the actual surface of the planet. So, but there's lots of technologies these days that allow you to do that. Even things that you can wear on yourself on a day-to-day basis that helps neutralize these frequencies, or even block them, so that your body's not absorbing them. Because they have been called, 2B. I believe it is a 2B carcinogen. So they are chaotic. It's not something to get freaked out by. But in the same breath, it's certainly important to do your due diligence, and it's certainly important to understand the effects of grounding and how therapeutic that is, and how damaging that EMFs can be. So those are just a few things. Obviously food is a big one. We all understand food is one that most people are talking about in terms of how food is treated. Pesticides and herbicides, and irradiated and then processed. There's lots of different toxicities going on with food. We got GMOs. The list again is endless, and I think most people know that going organic is probably the best thing that you can do as much as possible. At the very least, if you can't go organic fully, just make sure you know your environmental working group, Dirty Dozen, and stay away from the dirtiest pieces of produce to make sure that you don't, so you keep your toxin burden at a low rate. So those are just some of the things that we're dealing with. There's a whole other subjects around emotions. There's the mental toxicities. I'm sure that many people can appreciate that. There's certain people that you may hang around that you don't want to hang around. There's certain colleagues or maybe family members that can make you feel bad, and those are toxicities too. We might not think about them as some of the physical toxicities, but they kind of have the same effect. This toxicity can cause a lot of anxiety, stress, and then when that starts to happen, you start to acidify your body, and then your muscles and your tissues and things start to become damaged and start to deteriorate. So your emotional well-being is extremely important. So you got to make sure that you keep as many toxic people and things out of your life as possible. So I don't want to keep on going on and on, but my point is that the toxins are out there. You can't control many of these ones. Any of the ones we just talked about, there's a way to make sure that you stop this incoming toxic burden load, because the longer you let this happen, it's like filling up a bathtub with water. If you keep on letting the income toxins keep on circulating into your body, then eventually your tub's going to run over. And as soon as that happens, that's when the pain, that's when the symptoms, that's when things, come up. And the best mode is to make sure that you never even get close to that point. Most people don't feel they're dealing with any health issues until they see the symptoms, but a lot of things you're dealing with these things long before they ever show up. They may be subtle, they may not even really be there, but then when it comes to the point where you actually start to feel them, then they're starting to get into a more advanced stage. So you don't ever want it to get there. So you want to make sure that you kind of turn off that tap or slow it down as much as possible, and that you're doing cleansing and you're detoxing on a regular basis to make sure that anything that is coming in, you're eliminating as much as possible. If you can do that, you're going to find yourself aging much better overall in terms of how you look and how you feel. Aging isn't a recipe to feeling worse. Your chronological age is not the determinant for how you're feeling. Largely with how you're feeling is due to a toxic burden increasing over the years, over decades. As you increase more and more and don't take it out, your trash keeps on building up and you're not taking it out. It gets worse and worse. That and malnourishment are two major reasons that you start to feel older and look older. So this is part of the stuff that I talk about in the Thrive Online Health Program, and why this is so important to understand the incoming toxins and eliminate that, and also get rid of the ones that are already embedded in your tissues, because undoubtedly there is some, unless you've been doing this for a long time. You want to make sure you get those out. So that's just one module out of 8 different topics I like to discuss in the Thrive Online Health Program. If you want to learn how to block and eliminate these toxins, which I highly recommend, is extremely important, then check out the Thrive Online Health Program. The winter registration, it ends on January 14th. So it's a great lifestyle program. You have some great interaction within the program. If you choose that program, you can simply get the information and do it on your own. You can also interact with a community of members, myself, and get expertise as you go through this process. And the new year is a great time to start anew, and the Thrive Online Health Program is a program that gives you everything that you need. It's your one-stop shop to get everything sorted out. And over 20 disease conditions and counting eliminated. And this largely comes from making sure that we block incoming toxins as much as possible. We remove the ones that are already inside of our body, and we rejuvenate all our systems, our organs, and our glands through proper nourishment. And we're going to figure that all out inside the program. So I encourage you to check out the link below and check it out. And until then, again, my name is Derek Henry, founder of Healing the Body and creator of the Thrive Online Health Program, reminding you to not just survive, but thrive.